Salutations. This is a different type of video, alright? This comes 100% from the heart, and I'm going to honestly, it's been 2 weeks now, so I gotta really try to not get emotional on this. This has made me very emotional, and I think I undertook first a small cluster attack. One of them being that my channel on YouTube has been banned again in some way, shadow banned. And at the count, I didn't notice it, but people started emailing me saying, or giving me messages too, saying that they weren't notified when I put out the last couple videos I had done, which was a while ago. And that is very disheartening, but nonetheless, I'm still here. All right, so hit that bell again. Whatever it is going down, and they notified me that the count went down again. So I went from having thousands of views to having just about 1,000 or 2 to now having just a few hundred. So I don't know, but I'm still here. I'm going to keep going forward. Excuse me. And this one here is something I want to talk about, all right, that is separate from that, but something that impacted me seriously. So much so, like I said before, I'm going to have to try to not really get emotional when I'm doing this video. I'll probably keep my sunglasses on this time. I'm sorry y'all don't like it. Just deal with it, all right? It's that type of a subject. So, I've crossed over a lot of Earthbound Spirits now, all right? And for the most part, as I've said before, it's interesting because they cross over somewhat easy. And these are Earthbound Spirits that were people. But then some of them don't. Some of them are more resistant for various reasons, normally trauma. And this ties into that, all right? I had encountered Earthbound Spirit that I had actually wound up crossing over, but it took a lot of work, and it was very resistant. And I want to tell you why, all right? This Earthbound Spirit that identified itself to me with the name Alan had, when I want to know why they didn't go into the light, why they didn't cross over, and secondly, how they died. And this gentleman starts telling me first that he wasn't going to go into the light because of God, and if God was real, he wouldn't have allowed him to be tortured and killed the way he was. And when he describes this and why he wouldn't cross over, it's because he wanted every white person in existence to die and suffer. And he was going to stay here until that's over. And at that point, he'd done enough damage that he didn't think he could go into the light because first thing he said, he might burn again, you know, and it could be hell. And this is coming from someone who is a black male, melanin dominant male, who described to me being tarred and feathered, then put on a skewer and burned to death. Yes. Horrible, all right? Torture. And for me, all right, I'm well protected when I do these sessions. I make sure of that, but this is different, all right? This is emotional. I'm an empath like a lot of you. And I kind of refer to that in a way, I'm a little like the way Leonard Nimoy really described he played Spock, which is actually being a person that has overwhelming emotions that they've just suppressed and really try to suppress it at very, you know, that type of a Vulcan, a little bit different. So it's interesting, but that's kind of the type of empath I am. Like many of you, I think a lot of people that watch this channel too, so I appreciate you all. But this touched me in that way emotionally, all right? And I'm going to go further back. In the year 2000, I went down to the African American bookstore, the black bookstore in my hometown. It no longer exists, but I used to get a lot of my materials there because Jihad and Askias, the brothers that ran it, had a lot of no barcode books in there. Oh yeah, books like the Urugu and things like that. So I would go down there, and they had a book called Without Sanctuary, a book done by a couple of Caucasian gentlemen, all right? And what this was a collage of right around 100 pictures of African Americans, black people, whatever term you want to use, being lynched. And not all pictures in the way you're familiar with. Not all the ones that are hanging and just bodies out of trash cans. Some were burned ashes. People tossing around body parts. You know, it was absolutely traumatizing. And I sat there and... Sorry. Damn. All right. Sorry. It was absolutely traumatizing looking at these pictures. All right. There was a bunch of them. You can get online, I believe there's a withoutsanctuary.org. They show some of those pictures, but I don't think they're all there. Maybe not all of them. I mean, there were some skewer pictures and things like that. And this individual, this Earthbound Spirit, talked to me about being trapped here, to the trauma and going through that at the point of death. And being, you know, that's horrible. And I'm sorry, when you see those pictures and you hear something like that from an Earthbound Spirit, and I hear different things, when that, and back then, when the few people knew about that book, oh, it wasn't evil, it's just how things were back then. Are you kidding me? Yes, it's evil. And now when it comes down to like the UFO field and the New Age field, so people get mad when I mention melanin dominant extraterrestrials. I'll get attacked on somebody else's platform for mentioning that of all the other dozens of topics I talk about. You know, and and you shouldn't mention that when it's talking about ufology, this and that, how skewed the representations we have of black extraterrestrials are and contactees. I'm not supposed to mention that. See, you should the woo-woo doesn't belong in the woo-woo. Are you kidding me? What I'm talking about right here, these pictures in Without Sanctuary go from 1900 to 1935. To the point of where I asked my father, who still lives, he's 90, and he went through so much as a basketball player with what would have been at the time of Bill Russell and them, and the few that were actually professional ballers like that, okay? He went through so much racism. I asked him, I said, Dad, did you see anybody getting skewered like that? Or burned? Or anyone being hung? And he said, he looked at me, he said, no, I think that was illegal by the time I was growing up. He goes, I didn't see anybody, and he looks at me and said, and I don't know anybody that was killed in that manner. And if they were doing that still, it would have happened to me in some of the places we went to play. And that's about as real as it gets, folks, all right? He still walks that earth, the earth right now. There are others from that era, and it wasn't, some people say it wasn't a good time to be alive in some ways, before civil rights and all that. That Jim Crow thing was going on. I mean, it's a whole other thing, all right? So, to just say that should be ignored, you don't just forget that. You know what I mean? It doesn't just go away. So I should never be hearing that. Don't bring that to me. That's crap, all right? Anyway, moving on here, all right? This was just traumatizing to deal with this, and trying to get this this Earthbound Spirit to cross over. It took a lot of work and a lot of love of God, which brings the light. You know, and it's the pure shock of going through a death like that is enough to stop somebody from crossing over. It's more than just a frame of thought. It's also in the cellular body as you're dying. That's horrible, all right? So I went off on a couple people. I went hard on a few people about this, don't go into the light and all that stuff, or spreading that nonsense. I did a video on when you do go into the light, what happens. I've seen others come back and help others cross. Something else happens in an angelic fashion. Something else happens in the light, a change. And often it's not the hell going in there to burn like he was afraid of. So I just wanted to bring that up, all right? This is running a little long because this is coming from the heart. Point being, I recommend anybody look up that book, look at that website, and learn about this. This is part of our history. No matter what people want to say, you can't just take it away. And the people that don't want that in every history shelf book it should be on, I noticed that on Amazon it runs about $346 now for a copy of it. But I mean, a lot of the people that don't want that book being out or being mentioned or being taught in schools are the people that probably their grandfathers are on there. They don't want you to see them tossing around body parts, throwing stones at, 7-year-olds trying to go to school, grinning around bodies, mutilated bodies. That is devilish as it gets. Lord. Okay, so I'm gonna look. I actually tried to make notes for this. I won't show many pictures with this because the video will get banned. Already just putting without sanctuary on there may be risk. So oh, sorry. I was crying a little bit there, so I apologize. Something I want to say on the way out here is dealing with Earthbound Spirits and in hypnosis. I had noticed that Alexis had put something up that correlated what I was doing with QHHT. Love her to death, but I'm not a QHHT hypnotist. I do not approve of all of that for certain reasons. That's not where my techniques come from. There's something completely else I'm doing. All right, so I want that to be known. And for the people that maybe I did not get back with, I tried to email everybody back from the workshop. I got inundated with people in my own city even that wanted releases and things, and then since then I've done many on remote also through Zoom, so I know that it's very effective just as much as in person. So the people, the last 3 weeks I kind of withdrew from social media. I just had to kind of just recoup and deal with that and some other things and some other clients too. So anyway, that's just what I want to say. Please subscribe, please press the bell again, since I've been shadow banned again. And it's a trip because, I mean, I've gone through this now 2 times, and I know people who actually put up videos all the time that aren't really talking about anything real, like a case body work like we do on here often, and they claim, oh, YouTube is taking it down. It's more that they shadow ban and stop your videos from being seen, period, than they do actually taking it down. So anyway, I'm not going to go into that. But anyway, I appreciate all the people that have stuck with me. Please share the video. Please subscribe. This is real, as real as it gets. So I implore you to, learn about our history and learn that these are type of traumas that keep some of Earthbound Spirits here. That's serious and impacted me a lot. And it's just something of our history I think needs to be brought to light and not forgotten. There's a wise old saying, you have to know where you've been to know where you're going. So that is important, all right? And not that, it can't just be brushed aside and, never talked about and stick your head in the sand. That's crap. It's the people that did that back in the early 50s that saw a race of people getting completely brutalized and mistreated, and they didn't say nothing. Because it went against the mainstream. And I know, I've talked to some people that were Caucasian around the age of 85, 90 now, around the age of my father, and they say that. It was wrong, but I didn't say anything because I just didn't want to go against the mainstream. That's crap. So anybody in the ufology and New Age deal, you feel that way, sorry, it's going against what I'm talking about, where I'm at. Period. And I don't stick on this all the time, but this is something that needs to be addressed. It's real. I gotta get it. So peace, much love. Thank you, PC, for filming this for me. That is, again, a black male himself. It's his own company, Team BSR Music. Check it out. I'll put a link up for that too. Take care. Peace.